Living on these islands, for some of us, is a blessing, for others, a curse. But who'd have thought we'd end up on the therapist's couch in the middle of a nervous breakdown, trying to figure out in our heads and in our politics who we truly think we are. Happy islanders or feeling cut adrift? My hope is that with the help of a bit of psychoanalytic insight, we can bring ourselves back together.
And so how many of you swim in the morning? So what time do you swim?
7:15.
7:15.
You're welcome.
86-year-old sea swimmer Ruth voted to leave. So I wonder, is it her independent spirit that explains her passion for Brexit?
Let me start by just finding out a bit more about you, Ruth.
Yes.
Because I think that's part of what we want to do today, is think about, you know, not just the kind of political situation, but also how it links to who we are as individuals. So tell me a bit about yourself.
Well, I'm old enough to have been through the war years.
Where were you during the war? What was
I was most of the time an evacuee.
How old were you when you went?
With a label round my neck at Paddington Station at 6.5, I think.
Gosh.
Around 6.5.
That's a really big experience at 6.5, isn't it?
Well, I'm a good survivor.
You're a survivor. Yeah, I was beginning to think about that word to describe you. I suppose in the Brexit thing, there's quite an issue, isn't there, about identity and how we see ourselves, whether it's in relation to class or gender, or in relation to Britishness, whether that's been...
As far as gender is concerned, for me it was just a sort of natural progression from one. There were two different personalities, and from one personality that nobody really liked that much to another one that they did.
That's interesting.
Well, put it this way, people used to say, oh, for God's sake, go and be Ruth.
I'm going to shift us on to Brexit and see if we can make some links between... Yes. Does it worry you that we're so divided as a nation now? I mean...
That, if anything, worries me more than anything else.
Okay.
Yes.
What worries you about it then?
It worries me that people have been given the chance to say, I can wreck this, I'm going to.
Even here, in the sleepy constituency of Lewes, divided as it is along a Brexit fault line, people's sense of who they are defines their polarised relationship to Brussels.
No, it's incredibly beautiful, isn't it?
Up here, overlooking the South Downs with its rich and turbulent history, I wonder how community worker Edwina will explain her position on Brexit.
I suppose I just wanted to start by asking you, what you're hoping to get out of this.
I'm hoping this conversation will help me to feel better about why I feel the way I do about the political situation that we're in. It's just become so huge that it seems to be undermining the fabric of so many things that I sort of build my life on.
If you had to sort of imagine that somebody was describing you as a person, what would they say about you?
I hope people will think that I'm an honest person and I've got integrity.
What other kind of core values would you say you had?
But I don't think it's enough to care about to be just caring. I think you've also got to be prepared to fight. You get out there and fight.
It's the tub thumpers who are stirring things up. I quite honestly believe that if somebody came along and made a success of leaving Europe, many of these people would say, oh, well, it was a good try. Let's get on with it now.
It no longer matters whether Brexit was a good idea or not. That's no longer the issue. It's about whether you believe it. And once you get people believing things, it becomes I think that's where the danger starts. So you move beyond reason.
Like a faith?
Yes, it's like a faith. It's become like a faith.
What's the worry, Edwina? I mean, does it feel like there's a sort of potential violence?
I've had a brick through my window. My only crime was to have a Lib Dem poster in the window, and I had a brick through it, and so did my next door neighbour. Part of me, I think, well, Lewes is just ridiculously politically engaged. So it gives people get really passionate.
Can you get inside that experience at all? Is there any bit of you can think, well, you know, what do they feel so strongly about?
I can understand where people want to feel in control of their lives, but I don't feel that person has the right to tell us, you've got to be poorer, you've got to have less influence in the world, you've got to eat chlorinated chicken because that's what we're going to be.
Yeah, but of course they're not. Hang on a minute now. They're not sort of saying, oh, you know, it's going to be great. We're going to be poor and we're going to eat, you know, poisoned chickens. There's an aspect of what you're saying that's quite mistrustful, which of course may well have been shaped by the war.
There's all these doom mongers who say, oh, well, we'll run short of pharmaceuticals and big major companies won't be able to do this and that and the other. Is somebody going to turn off the internet because we've gone Brexit?
No.
Of course they're not.
I'm not a fanatic, you know, I'm not
No.
a fanatic. So if we'd left the EU and everything was
Going on.
then I wouldn't like it, but I would live within that framework. But on the opposite side, if we haven't left the EU, people are talking proroguing Parliament, bricks through the window. They're fanatics.
Hello!
Hi.
Come sit down.
Hi. Oh, thank you very much. This is very nice.
I wanted to thank you both for being so thoughtful with me and with each other.
This sort of political divide is about people turning their backs on those who they trusted.
That's very true.
Whatever way we go with this, there'll be a feeling of being slighted.
I think that's true, and I think that we all are going to have to bear disappointment in this.
Yes.
You know, if the rest of the country can be as thoughtful as you two, then I think we can find a way through. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you.